Well, hello, everyone. So good to be with you. My goodness. Is it always this beautiful in California? Is this what it's like all the time? I came from Atlanta, Georgia, and when I left, it was 33 degrees with 20-mile-per-hour wind. So it was real hard to say goodbye to my amazing wife, for sure. No, I'm so grateful to get to be here. So grateful to get to be with you at Saddleback this weekend. My goodness, your church has made just a profound impact on my life personally, on the church that I've been a part of for a long time. Your story, your legacy, the work you've done in your communities, it's just absolutely remarkable. So thanks for allowing me to be here. Thanks for being here this weekend. I'm going to share a little bit of my own personal journey, which feels slightly therapeutic to do that, all right? So I'll try not to turn this into a counseling session, but I do just want to, I want to tell a little bit of my own personal story, and then we're going to look at Psalm 23, which if you have a Bible with you, if you have a device, if you use technology, open up your Bible app. If you have Psalm 23 memorized, which you just might, go ahead and turn there if you would. My wife and I, as I mentioned, we live in Atlanta. We have 5 kids, and yes, we know how that happens. People always ask that. My wife can't keep her hands off of me. I'm kidding. But it was probably a couple months ago, our youngest kid, who's 4, was going to preschool for the first time. He had never been to preschool. That's a big deal when you've never been to school before. So she could just sense that he was kind of nervous. They're sitting in the carpool line, and he had gotten out of his car seat. He's kind of like right over her shoulder. And this is what moms do. Moms have this like sixth sense where they can feel nervousness, anxiety from their kids, right? Any of you moms out there that you're like, oh yeah, I can just feel it when my kids are nervous. So she looks back at him and she says, his name is Whit, which is why she called him Whit. She said, Whit, would it be okay if I prayed for you? And he said, yes. And so she prayed. She said, God, you're with us. I just pray that Whit would feel your presence. I pray that he would know that you're with him. I pray that you would take away his nervousness and his anxiety. In Jesus' name, amen. And they looked up, and he had this real stern look on his face, like he was about to say something real spiritual, which I was excited for. When she was relaying the story to me, I was like, what did he say? What did he say? Like, this is my kid. Like, I can't wait. As a pastor, one of my biggest fears is that my kids are going to grow up and just want nothing to do with church, you know? So when I think about a moment like this, I'm like, was it great? Was it profound? Was it like some kind of truth bombshell, you know? And she said, no. He just looked at me and he goes, well, that didn't work. Has anyone ever prayed for something and it didn't work? Has anyone ever prayed for something and you feel like God did not move on your behalf? We all have. Every single person here has. Everybody watching today has. Whether you consider yourself a Christian, whether you are still not sure what to do with faith. Everybody's had that moment where you prayed diligently for something and then you just didn't feel any relief. You didn't get any answers. That's been the story of my last year or so. I've worked at the church that I've been a part of in Atlanta for about the last 20 years. I went to Georgia Tech in Atlanta, graduated with a degree in industrial engineering. I knew quickly that is not what I need to be doing with my life. I told the school, I said, if you give me this degree, I promise you I'll never use it. Can we make that trade? So I quickly moved to Dallas, Texas to go to seminary. I went to graduate school in Dallas, Texas, met my wife there. I was there to study theology, ended up studying her. Hey. We got married, we had kids, and have been living in Atlanta serving at, we've got a couple of churches in the Atlanta area, and we've been bouncing around serving at our different churches for the last 20 years. But a couple of years ago, I started experiencing, I gave it the term professional restlessness. You know that term? You know that feeling? When you start having that thing inside of you that's going, all right, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And see, for me, it was extra challenging because I was in my dream job. I mean, I was doing what I always had wanted to do. I was doing it where I'd wanted to do it. I worked for a church in Atlanta. The pastor there is Andy Stanley, and he's been just a phenomenal mentor in my life for the last 20 years or so. But I got to the point where I knew the job was great, but I wasn't sure the job was right. And so I was trying to figure out, God, what do you have for me? What's on the other side of this? And so I was praying. My prayer was, God, would you give me clarity? God, would you give me clarity? Would you let me see? Would you let me experience? Would you let me see what you want to do on the other side of this? And I just could never get any answers. But I knew that I think I need to take a step away. I remember calling my dad. I grew up in a great family. My dad, awesome man. And I remember calling him, telling him, Dad, I'm thinking about doing something different. He was like, how serious is it? I was like, I think I might resign from my job. He said, I'll give you one piece of advice. You don't ever quit a job until you have a job. Now, isn't that great fatherly advice? You know, doesn't that sound like what a dad would say, you know? And I was like, oh no. So I started involving my bosses in on the discussion, and I finally made the scary decision to quit my job, not exactly knowing what was on the other side. And I know in some ways I felt like a walking cliche because we've all gone through this really challenging pandemic on so many levels, economically, mental health, physical health. So many people have lost people. So many people have experienced loss in so many different ways. And so for me, making this decision in the middle of all that was it was extra hard. When I decided, I think I ought to tell our kids about it. I remember we had left our house. We were in the minivan. We were actually headed to the zoo. It was a Saturday. And my wife leans over to me, and I'm driving. She's sitting there. She said, hey, I think you ought to tell the kids. I was like, why? Why do you feel like I need to tell them now? And she said, because they're announcing it at church tomorrow. And I was like, you are so brilliant. You know, that is so right. I should probably tell them today. So I said, hey, everybody, put your stuff down. I need to talk to you, you know. And look, as parents, we try to fight screen time, okay? I know y'all probably don't let your kids on screens, and you're probably great parents like that, but it's hard, right? Especially when they're in the van, you know? I don't know if y'all heard that Jimmy Fallon joke that he said. The studies show that from 0 to 18, it costs $500,000 to raise a child. Or for just $500, you can give them an iPad, which is pretty amazing. It's the greatest challenge of parenting, right? And so they're all like on their screen in the van, you know? And I'm like, hey, everybody, screen's down. I need to tell you something. You know, they all put their stuff down. What's up, you know? I said, hey, I quit my job a couple weeks ago. And then it turned into like a press conference at the end of a football game, you know? I felt like I was the coach at the end. I was like, yeah, you in the back. It's like, yeah, quick question. Are we gonna be moving? I was like, not that we know of. Okay, in the middle, yeah, you. Excuse me, does that mean we're gonna change schools? Not as far as we know right now. Okay, excuse me, one more. Yeah, you in the front. So when we don't see you, your world's gonna change, but nothing about our life is gonna change. I'm like, well, as far as we can tell, that's the way it is right now. They're like, okay, cool, Dad, thanks. They're just like right back to their screens, you know? Just compassionless. I mean, no heart, no feeling, no emotion, except one child. There is one, the one that I love most, who was caring. And she started crying, which I didn't see that coming. I was like, I knew it might like ruffle some feathers, but I didn't see tears. She starts crying, and through her tears, she said, she gave me this line. She said, but Dad, you love your job. Which I was like back into my indecisiveness again. I was like, I do love my job. What am I doing? And I was like, no, I do love my job. But I was trying to tell her, I was like, look, but sometimes there comes a time in life where God is leading you to something and you don't even really know what it is and you don't even really know why and you can't even really see what's on the other side. And she said, well, what is on the other side? What are you gonna do? And at that time, I didn't really know. I've had the amazing honor to write a couple of books all around the idea of leadership. And so I've gotten a lot of opportunities to speak to organizations about leadership, which I really enjoy doing. And so I knew I was probably gonna get to do more of that. I thought I'd get to do more preaching. But I was trying to put it together. I couldn't even explain it to her. I just knew I was just making words up. You know, I was trying to like explain it and it wasn't even working. 5 minutes later, she's still kind of like, you know, kind of sniffling a little bit. I said, hey, are you okay? And she said, well, it just sounds like you've quit a job and you don't have a job. And that sounds scary. I was like, this is just what my dad warned me of. Oh no. Look, that's my story, but I know everybody here today is going through your own thing. We're in this series, which I love, such a wide topic, living truth. They said, you can bring any living truth. I loved it. And so I said, hey, here's what I would like to do. I would like to talk about how to keep your soul sane in seasons of change. How to keep your soul sane in seasons of change. Anybody going through a season of change right now? Anybody feel like they can sense that change is coming? It feels like in so many different ways we're almost restarting life again. It feels like the whole world has changed. Everything is different now, and we're all trying to put the pieces back together. And over the past 6 months, I feel like God has been using Psalm 23, a psalm that I've heard my whole life. Just like you've heard your whole life. I've heard it read at funerals and read at weddings. I think my grandmother had it like crocheted on some piece of fabric that was hanging up in her house. I remember reading it then in the old King James Version. But I'm in a men's group through our church, just like all other people are in a group. And in our group, we just read the Bible together. And then we just tell each other, usually over text message, we'll meet. But then during the week, we'll just tell each other, hey, here's what God's teaching me. Here's what I'm learning. And so we were reading through Psalms, and we got to Psalm 23. And you know how there's moments happen in life where verses that you had read before, all of a sudden God uses them in new ways. It's almost like he turns new lights on that penetrate your heart in a new way. And as bold as that is, to pray that for today, that's what I've been praying for today. That in the same way that God used Psalm 23 in my life, that maybe he would do that in your life. Maybe you're on the brink of something. Maybe you've been asking all those existential questions like, why am I here? And what am I doing? And am I in the right spot? And am I doing the right thing? And am I hanging with the right people? Am I going the right direction? Do I need a change? Maybe God has birthed some idea or dream in your heart. But it just feels too scary, or it feels like, well, I can't really see it on the other side, or I'd have to let go of too much to get there. Whatever it may be, whatever your change may be, maybe you just moved here, maybe you're thinking about moving somewhere else. Whatever your change might be, my prayer is that God might just use Psalm 23 in a profound way in your life today. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna read it. I'm gonna read it from the Bible app. I'm just gonna read it all from the top all the way to the bottom. No interruptions, then I'll come back and we're gonna look at a couple verses all together. So if you got it, you can read along with me, but we'll make it easy for you to jump in it. Psalm 23, a psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely, I love that word, surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. The Lord is my shepherd. So David, the author of this psalm, he had a leg up on us because David was a shepherd. So when David wrote about being a shepherd, he knew just what that meant. Now, unfortunately, I didn't grow up around animals, okay? I don't really know what it means to be a shepherd. I'm just wondering, do any of you, anybody, you grew up on a farm, you grew up around animals? Great, I'm in safe company. So, you, sir? You grew up around animals on a farm? Did you have sheep there? Okay, all right, I feel amazingly insecure now. What is your name? What is your name? Joe? All right, Joe, you can fact check me on this, all right? I'm gonna try to keep it between the lines. But let's just talk about this together. In this metaphor, he's trying to set this up, and he says, the Lord is my shepherd. So he's saying that God is the shepherd, which makes us the sheep, right? And so what do we know about shepherds, Joe? I mean, we know that shepherds they're strong, they guide, they lead, they're caring, they take care of the flock. They're oftentimes protectors. They've got to know the direction. They've got to know the boundaries of where they can go and where they shouldn't go. This is what shepherds do. Joe, how am I doing so far? How am I doing so far? Great, all right. Now, this is maybe the most important question. When we think about sheep, what do we know about sheep? In this metaphor, God's the shepherd and we are the sheep. And what do we know? Just give me an adjective about sheep. Anyone? What do we know about sheep? Okay, thank you. Joe, they're dumb. I mean, and listen, again, God's the shepherd, we're the sheep. I'm not calling you dumb, okay? I'm a guest. I'm not about to roll up into your house and be like, "Ya dumb," okay? I wouldn't do that. But Joe did. Joe said, "You're dumb." I said, "Joe, do you know about sheep?" He said, "For sure, I grew up with them." I said, "Joe, tell us about sheep." And he said, "They are dumb." And I said, "Joe, that's not cool. You don't even know these people." He said, "I know these people. They're dumb." I was reading between the lines on that last part. But I'm telling you, I think David's on to something here, right? Because we know, okay, yes, God is a guide. God leads us. God guides us. He's caring. He's strong. He's a protector. And I also know that I'm prone to do dumb things. I would guess you would agree with me that you probably are too. I mean, I'm prone to make decisions sometimes about my own life that I don't even agree with. I sometimes say things that I don't even mean. I sometimes lose my temper when I don't even want to. This is the worst. My kids will be screaming at each other, and I'll scream at them to stop screaming. And every now and then I'll catch myself being like, that's mighty hypocritical of me to be like, "Stop screaming at each other. I can scream, but you can't." No, it makes no sense. I mean, honestly, we are all prone to do dumb things. Who is it that says we've all bought something that we didn't even need with money we don't have to impress people we don't even like, right? I mean, we've all done that. Every one of us have done that. And this is what scared me about this season is I was on the brink of making this decision, got 5 kids, about to give up health insurance, about to figure out, okay, what am I gonna do? I don't exactly know. And I knew I am on the brink of making a decision that I can't even see what's on the other side. And I'm begging God, show me what's on the other side. And He still hasn't exactly shown me what's on the other side. All I knew is when I got to this verse, I just thought, the Lord is my shepherd. David says He's not a shepherd. He's not the shepherd. He is, say it with me, my shepherd. Listen, that's different than God is a good shepherd. God is the good shepherd. No, God is. He's my shepherd. He's my shepherd. The role of the shepherd is to lead and to guide and to protect. The role of the sheep, all the sheep have to do is to keep their eyes locked in on the shepherd. And then this next little phrase just totally messed me up. The Lord is my shepherd and I lack nothing. I lack nothing. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like, yeah, I lack nothing? There's nothing I don't have that I would need. No, for me, I was like, I lack so much. I don't lack nothing. I lack a lot. I mean, I have a lot of lack. There are plenty of things that I lack. For instance, I felt like I needed courage to make this decision. I felt like I needed vision to be able to see. I felt like I needed the wisdom to know how to navigate some really complex conversations. But what I felt like God was using this verse to tell me is, hey, when you have the shepherd, you just keep your eyes locked on the shepherd. And if there's something that you don't have, maybe it's because the shepherd thinks you don't actually need it. Or if there's something that you think you need that you don't have, maybe the shepherd thinks, well, you don't need it yet. Because the shepherd provides for the sheep. Another version says, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. I don't have anything that I could even think that I would need that I don't have when I have the shepherd. And then he does some things. He does some specific things for us. In fact, I think this is how he makes sure that we have everything that he wants us to have. These 4 things. The first one, he says, he makes me lie down in green pastures. How many of you are like, he doesn't even have to make me lie down. I love lying down. Anybody? You're like a nap person. You can't wait for that amazing Sunday afternoon nap. One lady in the back was like, that is me. I am a nap person. Listen, I don't like to lie down. I mean, for me, this verse is spot on, that he has to make me lie down. I like progress. I like to go. I like to move. I like to achieve things. And one of the things that I've learned in this season is that one of the reasons why I do, it makes me feel in control. It makes me feel like, oh, I'm doing something. It makes me feel like I have more worth. But the good shepherd sometimes makes us, he has to make us lie down in the green pastures. Why? Why does he make us lie down? Why does he do that? Because he wants us to rest, right? When you're resting, you know, the process of the Sabbath, you know, the 6 days on, 1 day off. When you're resting, what are you having to do? You're having to trust the shepherd. You're having to open up your hands and say, hey, it's not because I'm doing it, it's because you're doing it. I'm trusting you. I'm depending on you. Same thing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. Why does he do that? Because he wants us to get a drink. He wants us to be restored and replenished and refilled. And he knows you're not going to take care of yourself on your own. I've got to help lead you there. And while you're doing it, I'm going to protect you from all of the harm that's around you. He makes us lie down. He leads us beside still waters. He refreshes my soul. He refreshes my soul. Now, I'm not going to ask for a show of hands on this, but hey, we've been through it the last couple of years, right? I mean, how would you say the state of your soul is doing? Everywhere I go, people say, I'm just discouraged, I'm distraught, I'm frustrated, I've lost a lot of my motivation, I'm exhausted. I was at a high school on Friday morning speaking to their faculty, and the principal said, all I want you to do is just encourage them. I don't want you to put anything else on their plate. Please do not make them feel like they have anything more to do. Do you know how hard it has been to be a high school teacher in this season? I'm like, well, I got kids, and it is hard to be a parent in this season, so it has got to be extra hard to be a high school teacher in this season. But it's hard to be a nurse, it's hard to be a doctor, it's hard to be a counselor, it's hard to be a pastor, it's hard to be a banker, it's hard to work at McDonald's. Y'all, have y'all seen that video of that lady that didn't get what she wanted in the drive-thru? They got her order wrong at McDonald's and she went through the drive-thru window? I'm like, people are crazy right now. Crazy. And this is what I'm worried about is, what's the state? What's the state of the soul? I mean, let me just get personal. How is your soul? How is your soul? You know, that place inside of you where all of your emotions are stored. Where if you feel lonely, that's where the toll is going to be taken. If you feel exhausted, That's where oftentimes you're going to experience it. How's your soul doing? Did you know that everyone around you feels your soul? You know, Boston said, you're more than a feeling, which you are. You are more than a feeling, but you're not much more than a feeling. To other people, you're just a feeling. They feel you. They experience you. They get a vibe of what it's like to be on the other side of you. They experience the climate that you bring when you walk into a room. Other people feel you. How's that going? What are they feeling? Those of you that are married or dating or in a relationship, what would your significant others say? How's the state of your soul? Those of you that are parents, what would your kids say? How's the state of your soul? They feel it. Kids, what would your parents say? How's the state of your soul? I don't know. I don't know how to get my soul refreshed other than following the shepherd. It's the only way I know to really get what my soul needs to be replenished and refilled and restored is by trusting the shepherd, opening my life up and giving the shepherd access to my soul. It's the only way I know to keep my soul sane. Whether you're in a season of change or you're not, he leads me beside these quiet waters after he makes me lie down in the green pastures, and he does this to restore my soul, to refuel my soul. And then he says, and don't miss this. He guides me. He guides me along righteous paths for his name's sake. How many of you are old enough to remember what we did when we didn't have maps on our phones? Y'all remember this? I mean, it is a wild world. I remember being a little kid, you know, my dad would be like, we're coming up to an interstate fork. What do we do, right or left? You know, and I'd be like back there unfolding the map, you know. It'd be like as big as the back seat. It'd take you like 60 seconds to unfold it and like the 60 minutes to put it all back together again, you know. And then do you remember after we did that, do y'all remember the stage we went through as a society where we would use MapQuest? And we would, on our home computer, we'd put the address in where we're going, and then we would print out. We would print out the directions, and we would put them on the counter and hope that we didn't forget them so that we could know where we're going. Now we don't have to do that. Then we had the little Garmin thing we put in the car, you know. Now, I mean, we've got everywhere we go. Everywhere we go. No one's ever lost these days, which is wonderful, right? Because we always have that blue dot. We know where we are at all times. I don't know what your relationship is like with your GPS person. I don't know if you have a relationship with your GPS person. I do, all right? My wife knows about it. It's totally fine. But I do use the voice of the British lady. And I don't know why. I just like her voice. I think it's wonderful. I'm very glad that we broke away from them as a country. But I do like the accent a lot. And she's so kind to me. I'm serious. Like, you know, she'd be like, excuse me, you have a right coming up in just about 500, 400, 300, 200. Oh, you missed it. No worries. I got you. This is my Adele impersonation, okay? And then she'll be like, I got you. I'm going to find you another route. You just stay calm, not a problem at all, you know? I'm like, she's so nice to me. My sick mind, every now and then I think, like, what if she berated me, you know? Like, what if she was like, you are such an idiot. Like, what are you doing? Oh, did I not give you enough heads up? I told you 7 miles ago that you had a right coming up. Was that not enough time to prepare? How much longer do you want? This is unbelievable. Do they really let you drive in this country? It's amazing you have pants on today. This is incredible. Like, what if she was like that? It would kind of sting a little bit, you know? And I know this is a really silly example, but when David says he guides me along righteous paths for his name's sake, I just wonder, is the kindness of the GPS person like a little microcosm of how God treats us? Of course, it's hard to really explain his character and understand how vast he is and how wonderful he is, but you know, it's God's kindness that leads us to repentance. It's his kindness that draws us back. We've all made the wrong turn. We've all made the wrong step. some of you, maybe you're here today and you feel like I've made a mess of my life. I can't believe I'm even here. I can't believe I'm watching this. God never sarcastically shames you for making the wrong turn. No, he guides you back. He gently brings you back. He lovingly woos you back. It's his kindness that helps you get back on the right track. He guides me along righteous paths for his namesake, for his glory. And then we come to the big payoff. This is the big line, right? I can't even imagine what it was like when he said these words. He said, even though I walk through the darkest valley, I'm not going to fear because he's with me. You ever been in a dark valley? In this area of the world where David was experiencing this, you didn't want to be in a valley. You wanted to be on the high places. You wanted to build your house. You wanted to get a position on the high place. Because down in the valley, it was cold, it was desolate, it would be dark, you would feel lonely, you would feel like God had left you there. You would ask all those questions like, God, where are you? God, what have you done? God, what are you even doing in the middle of this? You might be in one right now. Maybe you lost your job, or maybe you lost a loved one, or maybe you've been battling shame, or been battling loneliness, or maybe you've been in a season of depression, or maybe you just don't exactly know where you should go and what's next. And here's the problem. When we're in the valley, we ask all those questions like, God, where are you? God, have you left me? Or like in Psalm 13 where David says, God, how long are you going to let this go on? This is ridiculous. And you know what sometimes we do? The pain of the valley, the discouragement of the valley causes us to lie down in the middle of the valley. We think, I can't do this anymore. I don't even know which way to go, so I'm just going to sit down. It's exhausting. I feel discouraged. I feel depleted. I feel depressed. I don't even know, is God with me? And sometimes we get these two things confused. Don't forget, he said, he makes me lie down in green pastures. But he says, but I walk through the darkest valley. Don't get those confused. Don't miss those. Sometimes I'm prone to want to walk through the green pasture and lie down in the valley. And he's going, no. No, you lie down. If you're in a green pasture, you lie down. You trust him. You depend on him. You experience him refilling you, refueling you, refreshing you, restoring you. But if you're in a valley, if you find yourself in a valley where you feel alone, you feel depressed, you feel beaten up, you feel broken down, you feel discouraged, he says you put one foot in front of the other and you keep walking. You walk through the darkest valley. I don't know if God leads us into the valley, but I know for sure that God leads all of us through the valley. And the only way we get through the valley is to walk, is to do the next right thing. And some of you are going, well, I don't exactly know what that is. And that's why you need the community of God around you to say, let me help you see it. Listen, you know what God allowed his own son to do? He allowed his own son to hang up on a cross. And he had that moment right before where he said, God, if there is any other way, God, if there is any other way, would you please let this cup pass before me? But he didn't stay in the Garden of Gethsemane. No, he got up and he walked to the cross. And he hung up on the cross for you and for me because he loves us, because he knew that our sin needed to be paid for. But then, like God always does, God led him through the valley. And the resurrection was right on the other side. God has a habit. He has a habit of leading his people through the valley even when they can't see the other side. I don't know if Jesus knew the other side. He had to have, because he was God. He had to know, God, there was a perfect ending here, but there was still pain in the middle of it. I know the Israelites, when they were in the wilderness walking around, wandering around for 40 years, and they knew the promised land was on the other side, they still had a hard time walking. Where are you? Do you find yourself in a valley? The lie of the valley, the greatest lie of the valley is that God has left you. God's not with you. God's only with you on the mountaintop. And David says, no. Even when I walk through the darkest valley, I don't have to fear evil, because God is with me. And the only way I know to be able to put one foot in front of the other in the valley is to trust and to believe that God is with me even in the valley. He's with you. If you're in a valley, he's with you. So you just keep taking one step at a time. Lock eyes on him and keep walking through the valley. It was probably 10 years ago that I read, there's a book by Brennan Manning called Ragamuffin Gospel. It's an awesome book. But God used this little story out of it in a real profound way in this season. You know, sometimes he does that. You know, I read this years ago, but I remembered it, and God has used it. It's been on the forefront of my mind so many different times. So the way the story goes, there's this gentleman who, it was his dream to go to Calcutta and to serve with Mother Teresa. He had always wanted to do it. And so he finally gets the opportunity to go for a couple of months. And at the very end of his time there, even better than that, he got a moment to actually pray with Mother Teresa. And in this moment, the way he tells the story, he says, Mother Teresa looked at me and said, sir, how can I pray for you? And he said, oh my goodness, I can't even believe you're asking me. Thank you. I need a lot of clarity. When I get back to America, I don't know if I'm supposed to go left or right. I don't know if I'm supposed to move forward or I'm supposed to I don't know. I've got a lot of business decisions, family decisions, and I need clarity. And the way he tells the story says that she kind of laughed and said, well, I've prayed for clarity a lot, and God has never given me that. But she said, but what I will pray for you is that God would allow this season to be a season where you learn to trust him, even when you don't have clarity. And that's what this season has been for me. It's been a season where I haven't gotten clarity, but I've had a great opportunity to trust my shepherd. And that's what I want to invite you into. Would you be willing to trust him? See, maybe today the best decision that anybody could make is to say, you know what, I'm going to make him my shepherd. I'm going to lock eyes with him. I'm going to call him my shepherd. I'm going to trust him as my shepherd. Ask for clarity. Ask for it. You may get it. I don't know. You may not. But what I bet you will get, same thing I've gotten, you'll get to know the shepherd better. You'll get to call him my shepherd. You'll get an opportunity to trust him. And so, Heavenly Father, I just pray for my new friends here. God, at all of Saddleback's locations, wherever they're watching from, wherever they are, just that. God, for one, if they're in the middle of a valley, that God, you would let them know, God, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that you are with them. There is evil, but we don't have to fear it because you're with us. And so I pray that they would be able to lock eyes with you. Maybe even today they would be able to call you my shepherd. That they would look to you, that they would trust you, that they would listen for your promptings, that they would surround themselves with people that have your values, that can help steer them and guide them, that they'll experience what it's like to follow the Good Shepherd. God, I don't know if you lead us into the valley, but I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you lead us through it. And I pray that today would be a day where we'd feel your presence, we would renew our trust in you. Maybe we'd even start to trust you for the first time. And we pray all this in Jesus' name.